In the earlier part of the movie, George beat Boyka, and Gaga bailed him out of jail, and Boyka became in a bad condition in prison, and began working in cleaning the prison bathrooms, because his leg was broken by George, and he could not fight as before. After several months have passed, we see a person named Saikov, who is a fierce and strong wrestler. He participated in 35 matches and did not lose in any match, and this fighter who became Boyka's replacement to bet on, Saikov had a match, and he easily defeated his opponent. After that, Gaga goes with the warden before leaving the prison, and by chance he watches Boyka cleaning floors. He was surprised by the condition Boyka had reached, and he witnessed him refusing to take the money that fell from him on the ground. Gaga goes to him to the cell, and he tells him that he did not forget that he had earned a lot of money because of him, and therefore he tells him that he will transfer him to another cell better than this one. Boyka tells him he wants him to let him fight Saikov, but Gaga refuses and tells him that Saikov will easily defeat him. He tells him that Saikov will participate in a world championship for the strongest prisoner fighters in the world. In doing so, Boyka's request is denied. After that, Saikov continues his winning streak. Meanwhile, Boyka returns to training in order to recover to fight again, and he also shaves his beard. Saikov was fighting someone and defeated him, and after the match ended, Boyka threw water at him, telling him that he was not a real hero. He asks Gaga to let him fight Saikov. Gaga asks Saikov to let him fight with him. He enters the ring and starts fighting Saikov. He was trying to avoid stress on his broken leg during the fight. Indeed, with his powerful skills, he was able to easily defeat Saikov. The audience cheers Boyka's name again with enthusiasm. After that, Gaga sends him to a prison in Georgia under maximum security, in order to participate in the international tournament instead of Saikov. The prize for the winner of this tournament was his release from prison. This competition was supervised by an old man named Rizzo, who gathered leading bettors in martial arts games, including Gaga, and he received them in his hotel. Each person had their own fighter. Gaga meets an Italian friend of his named Fornati, who tells Gaga that his fighter, Turbo, will win the competition. After that, Boyka enters the prison, and also the rest of the prisoners meet. The prison warden asks every prisoner to state his name and his crime. All the prisoners identified themselves, and most of them were accused of murder. The prison fighter tells them that his name is Raul, and that his nationality is Colombian. As for Turbo, when it was his turn, he cursed the prison warden, who warned him that he would face many problems if he did not shut his mouth. After that, they go to their cells, and on their way they watch the arena where the matches will be held. Businessman Rizzo gathers all businessmen who have influence and welcomes them, and tells them that they certainly have strong power because they were able to get dangerous prisoners out of prison in order to participate in this tournament. On the second day, the warden tells the prisoners that each person has only 1 hour to exercise. But before they went to exercise, they had to carry out hard work breaking rocks in the mountain. Then they are taken to the place of the mountain. The prisoners start breaking rocks. Turbo was trying to talk to Boyka and tease him, but he told him to shut his mouth. Next, they watch Colombian prisoner Raul sitting and not working for them. When they finish working, they go back to prison. Then the prison warden asks them to practice for 1 hour, because tomorrow the championship will begin. Although the prisoners are feeling tired, Boyka and Turbo enter the gym and start working out. Boyka notices that Turbo has 2 tattoos of children on his chest. The prison warden helps the Colombian prisoner in his exercises, after he brought him other prisoners to help him in his exercises, and Raul rehearses and beats them up. Boyka was trying not to bring himself to the limelight, so he did not bandage his broken leg. Then the businessmen place bets on the prisoners. It was the first match between the Greek Petros against the Brazilian fighter Rodrigo Silva. The match began, and Rodrigo was superior to the Greek fighter, and was able to win the match, after he presented a wonderful match, in which he showed his skills. After that, the second match begins, which was between Turbo and another fighter. The match was very strong and equal between the two parties, except that Turbo changed his fighting strategy. He made the other fighter attack him in order for him to take advantage of the opportunity, and hit him with a knockout and win the match. Fornati was very happy to bet on Turbo. After that, the third match begins, which was between Boyka and a French fighter. It was apparent that Boyka had regained his fitness by landing his powerful punches against the French fighter. The French fighter tried to punch Boyka, but Boyka managed to knock him out and win the match. Gaga was also happy that Boyka won. As for the fourth match, it was between the Colombian fighter Raul against a Korean fighter. The fight begins between them, but Raul was much better than the Korean. He viciously hit the Korean fighter and showed off his skills to the audience. He directs a knockout and wins the match. The matches end for the day, and then the prison warden comes and tells them that the their prisons. After that, they took them. But in the middle of the way, the guards took them down and got rid of them. Then the other prisoners are taken to do hard labor. Turbo continues to tease him and tells him that he will defeat him in combat. The guard comes to them and tells them that talking is forbidden, but he continues to provoke Boyka, who beats him. They got into a fight while they were tied with an iron chain around their legs, until the guards intervened, after which they were taken to solitary confinement. Each one of them was having a difficult time in the cell, which had no place to sleep, and they were on their feet throughout their confinement in solitary confinement. But Turbo kept talking, and Boyka told him to shut his mouth. Gaga comes to the prison with Farnati in order to meet their fighters. Actually, Gaga meets Boyka and Farnati meets Turbo, and they told them that the warden of the prison makes them do hard work. So they were so angry that they went to the warden of the prison and asked him why he made their fighters do hard work. In the prison warden's room was Rizzo, who told them that he was the one who ordered that in order to exhaust the fighters. This is because he wants to increase the chances of Colombian Raul winning the tournament, and he asked them to bet on Raul in order to win a lot of money, because he would make it easy for him to win the championship. Gaga asks him about the fate of the fighters after the tournament ends. The warden tells him that they will get rid of all the fighters. The next day, as usual, Turbo continues to harass Boyka, telling him that they are being wronged. It is the warden allows the Colombian fighter to rest, but he tells him that this thing is not important to him. Then they go back to jail after a hard day. He tells Turbo he's going to practice, and the bouncer tells him he only has 1 hour to practice. Turbo tells him he's tired and can't work out, but because of Boyka's insistence on working out, he goes to the gym to work out with him. Gaga and Farnati pool their money to make a bet on Raul, as Rizzo asked them to. After that, the guards take the prisoners to the mountain before they eat their breakfast, and as usual, Turbo continues to talk about the injustice they are exposed to. Boyka asks him to withdraw from the fight if he is not able, and he also tells him that they can benefit from the hard work they are doing, if they consider it an exercise. Actually, they do the hard work as if it were exercises for them. They continue to work for their fitness. Turbo notices Boyka's injury, who tells him he's fine. Turbo takes some flowers from the mountain, and asks him to squeeze them and put them on his injured leg. He tells him that these flowers can cure his injury. While resting, Boyka asks him about his chest tattoo. He told him that the 2 tattoos are for his son and daughter. Turbo asks him about his family, but he replies that he does not have a family, as he made his life to fight only, and that he believes that he is the strongest fighter in the world, and he wants to prove that. Gaga collects and bets money. He puts flowers on his leg before the match with Brazilian Rodrigo Silva. The match begins, and the Brazilian fighter is a very strong opponent because of his high skills. The match was enthusiastic between them, but after a short period of time, he began to feel pain in his injured leg. But despite that, he continues to fight and can knock his opponent to the ground and force him to surrender. His performance has changed for the better. After that, the guards take the Brazilian fighter and get rid of him. Rizzo tells the warden that he's worried about Boyka's performance in the matches, and he tells him that if he continues in this performance, he will be able to defeat the Colombian fighter. But the prison warden tells him that he will do whatever he can to weaken his strength. The warden then goes to Turbo and tells him to stay away from Boyka, because the prisoners suspected them of having an affair. The guards then beat him hard. The next day he notices Turbo's absence, and when he comes out of the dining hall, he hears Turbo's voice calling him. He watches what the warden of the prison did to Turbo, who tells him that he will not give up. After that, he goes to practice and enters the Colombian fighter, who tells him that he knows that he is a strong fighter, but now he is king of toilets only. But he tells him that he will defeat him like cleaning toilets. Raul's next match will be with Turbo, so he is training to prepare for the match, and we also watch Boyka prepare for his next match. Then he watches Turbo practice despite his injuries. Then the prison warden comes and asks the guards to take the prisoners in order to break the rocks. Boyka was sure that Turbo would not be able to win due to his injuries, so he asked him to run away, but he refused. When they were doing work, he took advantage of the guard's preoccupation and asked him again to escape, telling him that he would free him from the iron chain. But he tells him that he will be able to beat Raul, and that if he loses, he will return to his previous prison. But one of the prisoners tells them that he is the fighter who loses. The guards take him, and he disappears from existence. He gets worried and agrees to have Boyka free him from the iron chain. He tries to free him from the chain, but the guards notice that and try to stop him, but he manages to free Turbo. They start beating the guards, and then Boyka tells him to run away quickly. The rest of the prisoners help them. He notices that the guard is trying to shoot Turbo, so he throws a rock at him, and he knocks him down. Then one of the guards beats Boyka, and he passes out. When he regains consciousness, the warden and Rizzo are there, telling him that they will find Turbo and get rid of him. He tells them that he wants to meet Gaga, but finds out that Gaga cheated on him and made a bet to Raul. He was shocked by this, and Gaga tells him that he will not be able to defeat the Colombian fighter because Turbo disappeared before the match. It means that Boyka will face Raul in the final match. Preparations for the match begin, and bets are placed on the match. They enter the ring and the match begins. They start fighting, and the match between them is very strong. Raul attacks him with all his might, but he dodges the blows. After that, he beats Boyka fiercely and tries to break his injured leg again. Farnati starts congratulating Gaga that Boyka is going to lose the match, but tells him that Boyka hasn't lost yet. He was able to free himself from his grip, but he couldn't land any blows on Raul, who kept hitting him. He begins to collapse after this huge amount of blows, and then Raul hits him, with which he was able to get him out of the ring. The referee of the match starts after the time. He then remembers the tragedy he was suffering from when he was in the previous prison, so he decides to gather his strength, tie his injured leg, and return to the ring again. Raul is surprised by his return and begins to mock him, but Boyka starts attacking him with all his might. He is able to control the match and deals many blows to Raul. Raul was trying to land a punch on him with his leg, but Boyka managed to block it and broke Raul's leg. The match ended in victory for Boyka, who emerged victorious from the ring. Gaga threatens Rizzo and tells him that he will take revenge on him for making him bet with Raul. Farnati also points the gun at the warden and tells him that he wants the money he bet on Raul. After Rizzo entered them, Farnati got rid of him, but the prison warden managed to get rid of Farnati. The warden then goes to Boyka and tells him that they won't let him out because he helped Turbo escape from prison. He tells him that they will take him back to prison, but he tells him that he is not interested in what they will do. The prison warden takes him, and halfway through the road takes him down to get rid of him. Boyka gives up and prepares to die, but suddenly Turbo appears, who saves him and gets rid of all the guards. And then they run away, and Gaga was waiting for them in his car. After that, Gaga gives him a bag full of money, and tells him that this is his share of the bet. This is because Gaga had cheated on Rizzo and not bet on Raul. He told him that he knew he was the strongest fighter in the world, and he tells him that from this moment he is free. Then he gets out of the car, and Turbo bids him farewell, telling him he's going to work for Gaga. He also tells him that his real name is Joshua. Boyka thanks him for helping him, and he bids them farewell. After he proves to everyone that he is the strongest fighter in the world, he finally begins to smile and be happy. Here the movie ends. Thank you for watching.